Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, what's up, bros?
Howdy.
What up?
What's up?
Been a quiet
Big round
week,
of applause for Chase Iron.
Not much going on this week, right? It's been a quiet week.
Yeah.
So what's new with you, Steve? We haven't talked to you in a while.
Well, I had my good friend Joe pass, so yeah, we had a rough 2 weeks here.
Sorry to hear about that.
It's okay. It's okay. It's yeah. So, just putting things together to assist the family, but it's been a rough 2 weeks.
Yeah, I saw the tribute you guys had up at the gym. That was fucking amazing. That was so
A lot
cool.
of people came. Yeah, a lot of people came. A lot of people flew in. I was on the phone with people who wanted to send flowers, but they didn't live in Thailand, and they, all the flowers here, they don't have credit card payment system. So I was just transferring with pay. They transferred to me with PayPal, and then I would do bank transfer. So I was doing that like for 2 days straight. Yeah, it was a good turnout. Yeah, a lot of people came. It was very emotional, obviously, and a lot of people got to say something. So it was good. Yeah, it was good.
I'm so isolated, man. I literally just kind of live in my own world. People were messaging me, and I had no idea who he was. That's what a rock I live under. But yeah, it seemed like everybody loved that dude. Oh my gosh, everybody was upset. I mean, you didn't hear anybody say a bad thing about that guy.
Yeah.
No, a couple of people on social media, but I chose not to watch that noise. So, no, but he was loved, man, worldwide. And he inspired millions to get into the gym in the right way. Not like Liver King way, but the right way to get people into the gym. So, yeah, a lot of people actually flew in from all over Thailand to pay their respects. Yeah.
Wow, that's
it was
really
a
cool.
Huge turnout. Yeah, huge turnout. And I was there for about a week, so they took it down Friday, I think, because the flowers were, getting to their time limit, but a lot of people came in over the week, so it was good. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, we have I had multiple people reach out to me about it, but yeah, it seemed like the guy was just well loved. He was well respected. I never heard anybody say a bad thing about the guy, but sorry for your loss, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So not much else going on this week, right, guys?
Well, Chase had a good day.
Good week.
Can we
It was
start a
pretty good.
GoFundMe for Chase so he doesn't feel like he wasted 2 hours of his life?
I don't feel it was a waste.
So
I was
busy.
entertained.
It was entertaining for sure. Yeah, I think the people really were entertained. Yeah, even though it was with the best educator that there is,
on the planet.
The best.
Yeah.
For those
Yeah,
that
the
don't
source-
know, I'll post a link to it's the Victor Black interview. I'll post a link in the video description so people can check it out if they want. Draw
I
their
didn't
own
watch it, though.
conclusions.
I just read the
I couldn't
comments.
finish it. I literally couldn't. I watched like 30 minutes and I was like, man, I'm sorry. Like,
I watched
love
like 40
these things,
minutes.
but this is
I paused right away. I started reading the comments like, okay, I better clean my septic tank. That's more fun.
I don't understand. Like in a debate, you're supposed to be a moderator that moderates, and that you're limited to 2 fucking minutes. And I could understand letting someone go over, but if they're just talking in circles, like, why not have? And then the other thing is, you're not supposed to interrupt. So, for example, with the first Trump-Biden debate, at one point, Joe Biden says, "Could you just shut the fuck up?" at the debate. And I was like, I actually like Biden. I can't believe that that Trump, who I thought was funny as hell, was so irritating talking over Biden and interrupting him and just grandstanding that it pissed me off enough at him where I actually was more sympathetic to Biden after the debate than Trump, just because of how bad his behavior is.
Well, nobody likes a blowhard in a debate, that's for sure. But I felt bad for the kid that you had on that was the moderator. He looked absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
He was the first one to speak up in Victor's Instagram, because like Victor put up a post saying who wants to host, moderate, whatever, and
Yeah,
he was the
like
first one to say something. So
seemed like a nice kid, but man, he looked terrified. He was definitely intimidated.
yeah,
But yeah, there was no moderation going on. But it was.
yeah, it was.
I think all you had to do is pull the pin on the grenade and let it blow itself, man. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it could have been a really good opportunity for Victor to show less arrogance,
A little humility,
a little humility, a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, because I feel like when he starts saying stuff like he's the world leading educator or only educator or world class bodybuilder and shit like that, it's immediately turns everybody off, you know. Like none of it
was true.
Even if it was true, like you don't need to say that stuff. Like none of us say anything like that, except I am the not so safe use model creator.
You're the homebrew king, right? I mean,
yes.
You've been christened as the homebrew king, but that's by other people. Other people
exactly.
named you
That's the
homebrew.
thing. Like you call me the homebrew king. I didn't make that nickname for myself, but
I like
that's it. You know, is
the world's leading not so safe PED educator.
I'll label this the Bro Science Podcast, and it's just like, oh my god. Like he puts a video up of me where I'm doing a fake British accent telling a fairy tale about the White Knight Anavar. And in the corner, it says, this is for entertainment purposes only. And he's just like lambasting me about it. That this material I released 7 years ago isn't accurate according to his belief system. And so therefore, I'm a charlatan who's ripping people off for their money. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, that video has been down for 5 years. How do you even have it? I don't even have it.
He keeps files until you slip up in his eyes, and then he releases it. You'll see it on Instagram already. It's starting. It's already starting on all of us. Six posts already.
I don't understand. Like, where do you come up with this motive? Like, I learned through J3U that I was wrong about some stuff. And so I have changed my opinions, removed the site, and it's like that site no longer exists. But you're saying that I have a paid website to rip people off with intentionally false information. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely nonsense. And his followers can't grasp this fact that I found Victor through J3U, not the other way around. That he twists reality in the order of events. And this is stuff I would have said in a podcast or a debate to him to clear up the issue. But after 12 hours, he wouldn't get on the phone with me and do a debate. He kept asking for a moderator. No one would moderate. This was after the Chase situation that occurred.
Yeah, like, well, I don't understand why he would want to get on a big channel or something like that, because like clearly looking at the comments on the video that we did, it's 460 comments of ripping on him. Like, no, I mean, sure, maybe somebody wants that, you know, on their channel to see more of it. I don't know, but you would think he would absolutely not want to go on a big channel, because it's just going to be more people realizing that they don't want to work with him and would rather listen to us talk about similar things. And it's,
well, like, why would a guy like Fawad even want him on, man, after he's ripped all of his mentors?
Right. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I mean I feel like, you know, those 460 comments, it's like each one of those is a missed opportunity for him, because none of them want to pay him now, like, because they saw what they saw. It's like, what kind of business is that? Like, you could have gained a ridiculous amount of members to your website or whatever.
It'd be like having a dating profile where the picture you put up is of you slapping a kid or slapping a woman. That's base. And I want to make this clear. I am not making fun of Victor. I'm sorry that I made fun of him last week and started all this shit, but he has contributed some valuable things to the community or tribe, as he puts it, that John Jewett made sense of and communicated clearly so that people could understand it by investing a 1 hour versus 100 hours into deciphering the material he presented. So he basically curated a bunch of articles, didn't really interpret them, just threw them up on his website. That's $40 a month. John Jewett read the articles, made college style lectures with lecture notes, and made it clear so that people like me or Chase learned the information, found out that Victor was the source of the information, went back and looked at the source information, couldn't make heads or fucking tails of it because it was so disorganized, and gave up. And then he now claims that because he educated John, we owe him royalties on everything we ever learned, when it's like, if he had gone to school, which he might have, he says he's an engineer, the University of Michigan does not get any of my fucking money because I paid tuition for the fucking diploma.
Exactly.
Ross University School of Medicine doesn't get any of my fucking money because I paid $300,000 for the fucking diploma. That's it. It's done. That's what tuition is. It's not royalties. We're not clones. We're not slaves. We're not property of Victor Black, and he's not entitled to anything we ever make, nor do I have to state after every fucking sentence everything I know is due to the University of Michigan or Ross University School of Michigan or Wayne State University School of Medicine. I don't have to say that. That's not a legal requirement. It is illegal to post people's address, home address, on your fucking site.
I saw that.
It is illegal to take their copyrighted video material off of a paid website and then post it for free on your Instagram for the purposes of defacing them. That's copyright infringement, and it's cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is the legal term for doxing. You can't say you committed the crime of doxing because doxing is not a crime. It's cyberbullying. So it's one of those things that I would have rather said this in a fucking debate to his face, but he will not debate me, would not go on. So I am sorry that I picked on him. And then his reaction is so much worse and very illegal that I have to make this comment because I have no other way to defend myself against those attacks. Now, Colton has more class. He doesn't bother defending himself. Paul has more class. He doesn't bother defending himself. And so they don't give a shit. But I don't know. There's something wrong with me where someone's basically defacing or saying that I am not credible or that I'm a bro scientist or that I've taken so much trend that my IQ is so damaged that I couldn't possibly go through medical school a second time. I feel that some of that stuff's kind of funny, but it's also way worse than is appropriate based off of me saying that his models don't fit my standards of medical ethics because he's escalating insulin and he's escalating Telmisartan without checking blood glucose and without checking blood pressure. And that although perhaps on the new site with new models, those are accounted for, these are aspects of J3U that to me, a doctor, are better. And that's why I don't consider me learning the material from J3U as being a ripoff of Victor, because it'd be kind of like someone finding a wagon and designing a Tesla and then saying that the person who built the Tesla ripped off the dude who designed the wagon. It's like, okay, you created you had one good idea. It's a wheel and an axle. Rather than dragging a cart across mud, we've got a wheel and an axle. Okay, I'm going to take that wheel and axle and then make a Tesla out of it. That's what John Jewett did with using a DHT injectable instead of an AI and using Telmisartan. That's the two core pieces of the Black model that I feel actually made it into J3U. Plus J3U, it has nutrition, it has training modules, it's got a female PED. It is everything you need to know for bodybuilding. It's a university for bodybuilding, and it's specific to bodybuilding, whereas Victor's models are about biohackers. It's like, I want to use HRT illegally for free forever, and I want to get away with it. How do I do it? He took Tony Huge's anabolic matrix, basically using 7 different pathways to build muscle or burn fat, and you use the minimum effective doses for each of those, or the maximum effective minimum side effect doses for each of those. So you've got a testosterone pathway, a DHT pathway, a nandrolone pathway, you've got an insulin pathway, an IGF-1 pathway, a GH pathway, an L-carnitine pathway, and then you have Telmisartan and metformin. And that's pretty much what the black model is. And then
but since when is that new? I mean, you go to Professional Muscle, and people were talking about that 15 years ago.
It's not.
As a quick side tangent, I mean, Colton was a part of my Facebook group, right? And do I chase Colton around the internet saying that he learned everything from me? No, one day I see him pop up on this podcast, and I'm genuinely happy for the guy that he's now part of the fitness industry, right? And whatever he learned from the Facebook group, I put it out there, right? He can use whatever he wants. Maybe he agrees with some stuff, maybe he didn't agree. But I'm happy that he's now part of podcasts like this, because, you know, you see people grow and become part of the fitness industry. And that's ultimately the goal of an educator, getting people the knowledge so they can make their own money and contribute, because there's more than enough clients for everybody.
Yep.
There's so many clients.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't cover them all, and all 6 of us can't cover them all. So why are we complaining about, you know, little things like this? I mean,
the biggest irony is I still directed people to Victor who didn't want to pay the full price for J3U and who are only interested in PEDs. Like, if you want a very affordable website that covers safer use models for PEDs that has nothing else on it, but is just about anabolic pharmacology for biohackers, I wouldn't say it's applicable for bodybuilders, then the Victor Black Masterclass is a good site if you can get through Victor, which is a huge thing. It's almost like the personality of a baby's dirty diaper. If you could basically convert a personality into a smell, he's like a loaded baby's diaper. And it's like trying to learn with a loaded baby's diaper under your face, inhaling that the whole time. And that's not me making fun of him. This is my opinion of his personality. It's worse than a dumpster fire. It's a dumpster filled with dirty diapers on fire.
I'm not laughing either.
I'm laughing.
I'm identifying as not laughing.
I'm identifying as laughing. So as a comparison, I had Paul on my YouTube channel and Chase, right? And go through the comment section there. Yeah. See how much love and respect these guys get for staying humble and just providing the information and not taking any credit for it. You know?
Like, so I mean, something else. Like none of us have exactly the same like perfect ideas. Like none of us match everything that we do. We all have our own little like twists and turns on different things. None of us are calling out the other person in public and being like, he's an idiot for doing that. This is the way. Like, he doesn't need to do that to any of us. He can just put his idea out there and be like, this is the way that the black models say to do it. You don't have to point fingers at this idiot's doing it wrong, that guy's doing it wrong. Like, you can just say your shit. And if people agree with it, then they'll come to you. And if they don't, that, you know, whatever. At least they're not going to hate you for being a dickhead, you know.
Yeah, you could even call out the industry. You can
call out the whole industry, not individual people.
Exactly. You could say most coaches suck ass. Most coaches load girls up on a bunch of gear. I have a different approach to how to treat women, which I happen to learn from Victor Black Masterclass, but he took the women's site down. And my approach is better for the women's health and safety for purposes of being reproductive after they retire from competing. You don't have to say this coach does this and this coach does that and this coach does that. It's just because it looks like clout chasing at the very least. Like, I'm going to pick on somebody who's bigger than me so that because people are searching for them, they find my video. And if I can talk shit about this person enough, they're going to direct them to me. It's like, why clout chase me? I'm not famous. I don't understand what the point of that is.
It's insecurity. That's what it is.
I mean, you could literally take someone's content and pull it apart and then do it in a construct, like kind of like Derek does, more plates, more dates. Like, you could say, this is what this guy's doing. It's great, but I would do this instead with the black models and just approach it as an educational format and explain why, instead of just saying this guy's a fucking idiot. You know, like, why do that? It's not going to garner any attention.
And
in
so,
the
like,
meantime,
when Steve put out his fertility video the other day, and I was watching through it, and at the end you put out the protocol, saying what you do, which it's very similar to what I went through, like what I did for my protocol, but it's different, and I would say that it is better. It's more costly, but it is better. Like using more FSH, doing it daily instead of every other day. Like if Victor was making that video, he would have been like, Chase Irons does FSH every other day. Fucking stupid. Why would you do that? It's way more effective to do it every single day, and this is the way that you need to do it. And it's like Steve didn't. He was just like, this is what I did to get these numbers. Here it is.
Right.
So, out of curiosity, what do you think? Let's say generic protocol. I know there's no such thing as a generic protocol, but let's say there's a generic protocol for I want to knock my bitch up. All right, is it 500?
Lady, slow down.
It was supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be
slow
a joke.
down.
Oh, you're right. I can't do jokes on YouTube.
We're 21 minutes in, and Todd's already blackmarked me.
I want to impregnate my walking goddess. All right, I want to impregnate my beautiful goddess of a wife. How do I do that? Is it 500 HCG a day, and how much FSH a day? What would be the right protocol for that?
So basically, through my own self-experimentation, doing blood work basically every month, right, on my LH and FSH and HCG levels, I would say 1,000 IUs HCG every other day, or at least 3 times a week. And then FSH, recombinant FSH, Merck Gonal F, that's the same one that Chase used, every day. Because I went based on my blood work levels of how high my FSH went. So a single administration of 75 IUs only brought me to the bottom of the reference range. And when I went every day, I came to the middle. And with an IV administration, yes, I know Victor doesn't like IV administrations, but this is the best way to go. You IV something, you check in the lab how high. I know it's crazy, but how high are my levels, right? Because there's no real data on it on PubMed. Yeah, so I'd rather run the experiment on myself for the sake of the community and then report back. I said, listen, the science is a little bit thin, so why don't I experiment on myself? And if I do IV recombinant FSH 75 IUs, it came to the top of the reference range. So I basically went through the scientific literature and then adopted it for myself. And I use injectable glutathione every day. And now my semen count is 500 million per shot.
All right, so I'm going to try to restate that in my lazy way.
It's a mess.
I'm lazy. I would want to just take one syringe.
It's insane.
That's evidence, right? I mean, I'm evidence-based also. Hey, look at my cum. Yeah, I might get it in your eye. Be careful.
So Steve, that's where he got with mine. I was doing 2,000 HCG every other day on the days in between. HCG, I was doing 75 FSH, not doing it IV, but doing it sub Q, and that got me up to. You said 500 million. What was mine?
Yeah, 500 million. Yeah.
What's 4.5 times 13 million?
Oh yeah, so you got like 50 million.
Yeah.
To be fair, I did IV recombinant FSH once to do blood work. Right?
Just to do that. Okay.
I've just once, because I wanted to see what the maximum level was.
Oh, sure.
Of a 75 IU shot. If I came to the bottom of the reference range after a 75 IU shot, I would have done 150 IUs every day. Right.
But I'm an everyday type of guy because I like to do things every day. Because I would take one syringe, I would load it up with both of the things, 500 HCG, 75 IU of the FSH, and just let it rip. I don't need to use HMG. I can just use straight FSH.
Yeah, right.
All right.
So the problem with HMG is that I've tested several different brands, and I did so many fertility consultations over the last couple of years. HMG doesn't contain luteinizing hormone. I've seen this on blood work so many times. HCG goes up, FSH goes up, but LH doesn't come up. So why would I use HMG when I'm paying for the LH when it's not contained within?
Oh, I thought the reason for HMG is to drive up FSH internally. So you use HCG to drive up LH, and you use to simulate LH, and you use HMG to simulate FSH.
But if I'm paying for 75 IUs LH and 75 IUs FSH from urine purified sources, but the LH in my serum doesn't go up, And why am I taking it? Why not go with recombinant? So I went recombinant, HCG, and recombinant FSH. I did it for 6 months, and I was already on HCG for a whole year. So, you know, I was 22 million per 1 milliliter before I even came off cycle. Yeah. So I was well ahead of Chase, right? He had to do everything from start.
Yeah, I was at
That's
0.
why it took him so long. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
every time I've tested myself, I've been at 0.
Yeah, so I was, you know, I was already preparing for the last 2 years, you know, with the NAD plus and the glutathione, all these fertility practices. So I got super sperm right now, literally. So we're gonna start conceiving in 2 weeks.
But something worth saying though is like everybody, you know, thinking that you don't have to necessarily get as high of a sperm count as Steve, because like we were successful in getting pregnant with my super low sperm count, but it was enough, you know. So for anybody that's like concerned about whether or not, you know, they have to do that. Yeah,
don't have to. You can, with the morphology of 4% and progressive motility of, let's say, 5%, even people get pregnant. Yeah. It's about the DNA fragmentation, right? As long as there's a couple swimmers that go in a straight line, right on target, quoting Star Wars, I'm sure Colin will like.
It only takes one proton torpedo.
Only takes one. So as long as you check the DNA fragmentation, so that's from oxidative stress, and the DNA fragmentation is below 80%, 78%, then you're good. And so I wanted to show how much of a fertility boost you could get potentially. But I know people who got pregnant on horrible fertility parameters, and they got beautiful, healthy children. Yep. You know? So I just go to the extreme.
So I was blasting gear. I was blasting gear when I got my wife pregnant. I don't even know how it happened.
So I was conceived when my dad was blasting gear.
Really? Oh, your dad is also a bodybuilder.
Oh yeah,
epigenetic.
It was all it was all in the 80s. Yeah.
That's where the cap
You're a D-ball baby.
Yeah.
D-ball baby.
Deca and D-ball, yeah. No, I saw pictures of him. He was a really big, really bloated. Yeah, it was definitely Deca and D-ball.
So what's funny about all this is that this is technically considered bro science, even though what you didn't do is you didn't look at studies done on rats or on couch potatoes who were nothing like you and extrapolate from that information and apply it to yourself. You actually took the drugs and experimented on yourself and had your willing subject and impregnated that woman. So you have a living offspring as a result of your bro science versus having a piece of paper that someone you don't know wrote about what they did with some rats, and that society doesn't value bro science. They value what a piece of paper says and says trust the science.
And the puppy society.
So you're saying there's some value to bro science?
I'm saying that most of the bro science was proven true eventually. And that
exactly, yeah.
When science proves bro science false, that they're basically testing 19-year-old kids with a max bench press of 130 pounds and calling them trained athletes.
Well, that was part of my point also about the 18 IUs of growth hormone and being like, you haven't done it, Victor. Like, I don't know. He's like, I'm the world. Of course I know what it does. And it's like,
try it.
Do you?
Look at Chase.
I don't think you do.
Dude, I've been watching your transformation for the last couple of months, and I'm on the edge of my seat. I love it. Every second of it.
This is what I love it.
Look at this. This is bodybuilding. This is real bodybuilding.
That's all water and mineral.
All right, so wait, I'm confused. Okay, so 3 of the 4 panels are current. 1 of the panels is a before.
Right.
Yeah, this one down here is before.
Yeah.
That's nutty, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look like the same person.
Yeah. It's
he ate
mutation.
Perfect.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so now Chase has inspired all these teenagers to go on 4 grams of gear and 18 units of growth, like they can afford it.
Well, that's the other thing. It's like, you know, we confirmed, it's like, yeah, the stupid people are gonna try this. The other thing is, like, sure, if they don't do the growth hormone and they try to go straight to the PEDs, they're gonna, like, as they're titrating up, or if they go straight to it, like, they're gonna get hit with the side effects, and they're like, Again, even a bigger idiot would just stick with it and keep going. But most people aren't going to be able to handle that. But like I've said so many times, the only reason I've gotten to where I am is because I can't find any side effects that are like, don't do this anymore. So that, like, I'm looking out for it every day, and I just
plus the views.
And
look at the views.
Right? Yeah.
I mean,
and I gotta make...
to be. To be clear, like, how many years have you been bodybuilding? You got your home gym, and this is your passion, your life. You make money this way. I mean, you're your own billboard in bodybuilding. So that's why I don't understand why some people look absolutely horrible.
Well, don't understand the return on investment. Like, they're like, "Where's the ROI?" And it's like, what? What are you talking about? It's paying
look at the
subscriber count. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking. It's just.
It's just a business expense.
Well, you inspired me to make a Serostim purchase.
I did the same. Yeah, I did the same. It's already on the way. Yeah.
I'm saving it for contest prep.
AP is very happy with our business. Oh man, when my wife is pregnant, I'm gonna mutate. Well, maybe not as high of a dose, but I'm gonna mutate. I'm gonna go to Chase Irons way. Yeah, Chase models.
That's going to be fun to see.
Not so safe. Not so safe models.
The Chase Irons not so safe.
Safe models. Well, luckily, you have longitudinal data for ages.
Yep.
All right, we want to grab a couple questions.
Let's go.
If we have any.
So also something else that he said. He was saying high blood pressure shows up after left ventricular hypertrophy, which.
That's not true.
That's not in every. That's not like, sure, that might happen, down the line, but that's not true for every case of high blood pressure. It's like you get tons of water retention and bloat, your blood pressure is going to go up. And he tried to just push that on me, and I was like, that doesn't make sense.
That's just not true.
Yeah, left head ventricular hypertrophy can be caused by hypertension.
That's what I was saying. It's like,
but most of the cases in our community is an athlete's heart, which is a higher function that your ejection fraction will improve as the left ventricle improves in size, as long as it's not the septum.
Yeah.
So you can see that on my EKG. It's documented on YouTube. I mean, I document all my blood work and my imaging. You see my ejection fraction is very, very high. 72%.
That's the highest I've ever heard of. Mine's 65. Yeah.
Right. So, and I have slight heart enlargement, but it's uniform. I don't have left ventricular heart enlargement. I don't have thickening of the valves, but I have a slightly larger heart than average. And that's based on average sedentary people. So,
the other thing is, like, if you get that done and you detect that things are getting bigger, you stop. And you stop doing things, the heart will shrink. It'll go, you took however much time off and it went back to normal.
My heart went back to normal. Then it went on cycle and it got bigger again. So, I mean, just like you have muscle memory for skeletal muscle, you have muscle memory in the heart and organs as well. I mean, I'm sure if you measure my liver weight now compared to when I was on cycle, there's a big difference also. So, but let's not do that autopsy.
Well, so this guy's question is, do you guys think Chinese GH is all fake? So Metatrope is, I think, a brand of Chinese GH that I know I use. I think Paul uses.
I use it too.
Yeah.
And Luke Sandow used it. I think Justin endorses it. I don't want to put words in Justin's mouth, but it's Chinese GH. It's great. Metatrope. It's got like let me look at it. It looks like an EKG-M. It's like a black circle with an EKG little squiggly line that forms an M.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what most people use, because it's as good as, maybe not as good as Serostim, but it's as good as the lower end of the pharma grade stuff, and it's way cheaper.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's got to be 191 amino acid, or it's not, right? It's binary.
Yeah,
I guess some of the protein folding could be, and then it could be compromised, or I think what happens a lot of times, like the generic stuff just gets denatured in transport, I would imagine. Whereas like you're grabbing the pharma, at least like here, you're getting the stuff direct from the source. It's not sitting on a container ship coming across the ocean for
I don't
6
know.
weeks or whatever.
I ordered this bottle of Lantus from an actual pharmacy, and they mailed it to me. I actually had to call in and give myself the script for it. And what do you call it? They mailed it to me, and it was in a box with some ice packs that were melted. It was like it was room temperature. So I don't think that there's anything compound pharmacies or CVS or Walmart does better than an underground lab if an underground lab is ethical.
No,
yeah, who knows?
And most of the time it takes 2 or 3 weeks before it arrives anyway. So I've had many a pre-constituted GH arrive. In the Norditropin, Genotropin, well, you have to mix that yourself. But it all work as, expected. You do the serum test and it's elevated, to a range that you would expect. So the potency is high. But I prefer pharmaceutical grade because I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't touch anything UGL anymore after a couple bad experiences. But I'm sure there's some good, Chinese generics out there. Yeah.
Right. And that's an interesting point. Like the assumption that although the drugs are real, that they could be contaminated because they're not in as clean of a facility, not necessarily an unethical facility, just that they don't have multi-million dollars to drop on some Walter White level meth lab. It doesn't mean that it was done in an RV in the desert either.
No.
There's a middle road of that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't create a lyophilized puck with a spray paint hose. That doesn't work that way. You need the equipment,
I remember the first supplement company that I was designing products for. What they would do is they would take all the powder and stick it in a drum, kind of like a sterno that homeless people would use, and they'd throw pizza like pans, like the pizza pans with holes in them, basically like a colander that's a thin slice, and they would throw those in there with a bowling ball, and they'd put the lid on the drum and they'd roll it back and forth on the floor in the lab, and that's how they mix the powder. Whereas the next supplement company the one I owned, had this $100,000 piece of machine that spun at super fast speeds to mix it. That was shaped like a V. It totally looked like it was out of a science fiction movie. I was like, is this really happening? Did they really have equipment that looks like this? It had like red neon lights were shining on it, and it was all chromed out. I was like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, that's how we mix your products. I was like, we used to just roll a sterno back and forth on the floor. Like, what the fuck? Moving on up, I felt like the Jeffersons. So
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm that old.
I had a question from one of my clients who wanted to get on here. One of my guys, Nick. He was talking. We talked about whether it's more productive for long-term gains to run shorter pushes for size, followed by cutting phases, or you do a long off season versus having and then cutting phase. I found like with my clients, I generally try to have them do a cut once a year. I feel like after pushing size for a good amount of time, it just becomes unproductive. There's only so far you can go, and then you have to reset things, hit the reset button. But he had talked about, like, I think Mike Israetel talks about like doing these shorter periods, like where you'll do these short periods and then do a mini cut and then reset, and then do a short period and then a mini cut and reset, versus doing a long off season and a long cut. What do you guys think?
I think John Jewett has it broken down really clean, and that's like you do what Mike would call a block or 2 blocks, which are like 3 to 6 mesocycles. And then you have a holding phase, because if you go right into a mini cut, you might lose a lot of that muscle. So you kind of spend 3 to 6 months bulking, lean mass building. I don't like the term bulking. Then you spend about a month where you maintain. You basically can pull back on the gear load or pull back on the food, or both. Pull back on volume to maintenance level and hold that phase so that you get to crystallize or cement in your gains. And then you go into the Mike Israetel style mini cut. And Mike Israetel's mini cut is extremely well detailed. It's very clear. I find that John's material is specific for bodybuilders who are advanced or upper intermediate, like top national level and professional level. So he skims off a lot of the material that Israetel covers, which is geared towards beginners. And so like a lot of the volume modulation that goes into resistance periodization isn't really in J3U, because by the time you're at the level of J3U, you really aren't doing reps in reserve, and you really don't have a lot of volume you can do because you're too advanced. So it's kind of more like a Dorian style routine in J3U, because by that point you have enough muscle that's what you're going to need to do. But for the point of retaining tissue, that if you cut your volume, and if you like your mesocycle starts at, let's say, 10 sets per body part and ends at 20 sets per body part, you would cut your volume back to 5 sets per body part for your maintenance month, and then you go back up to 10 sets per body part for your mini cut, and you wouldn't escalate your volume for your mini cut because there's no point. You're not going to be accumulating tissue, so extra volume isn't necessary. Same thing kind of goes with food, is that you might start at 3,500 calories, work up to 5,000 calories, cut back to 3,300 calories for your maintenance phase, and then once you get to your cut phase, you're down to like 2,200 calories, and then you reset. Because I actually had this conversation with Justin Compton, and he came up with the same number I did, that you basically you can't really grow for more than like 6 months. 3 to 6 months is the most you can grow, and then you need 2 to 3 months to hold that, because if you start your prep right after you grow, you lose everything that you put on. So if you do 6 months of growing and go right into 4 or 5 months of cutting, you're not going to get any bigger. Even if you got bigger, you won't keep it. But if you did 4 months of growing and then sat on it for 2 months, and then you did 4 months of cutting, then you would actually retain the size that you put on.
That's been my experience. I usually will do a 16 to 20 week off season, and then followed by like a 6 to 8 week maintenance phase where maybe I'll pull back or whatever, give my body a break, and then I go into the cuts. That's what's worked well for me. And then it may be a short rebound phase after a show, like a 6 or 8 week rebound phase, and then another maintenance phase. But that's typically what I do.
Of course, this is all bro science, because I don't have a paper that was done on pandas to show that this actually works. Because believe it or not, pandas don't do bodybuilding shows, so all the studies they do on pandas don't indicate this, because it's all false. Yeah. Rats too, that rats don't do bench presses and rats don't do deadlifts. So therefore, since rats don't grow, bench pressing and deadlifting, bench press and deadlift don't help with strength or size.
What if it's on like a brown panda though, like one of those?
A brown bear,
like the red pandas. I love those.
The red pandas. Yeah.
I get.
Oh yeah, that's so cute, dude.
The algorithms feed me cute animals and stuff. Death metal, chicks with huge boobs, and then pandas.
I want to have your Instagram. That sounds like better than mine.
I'll share a lot. I'll share it with
It's
you.
so funny, just like watching them fall out of trees and roll.
Yeah.
Just like,
my Instagram feed is nothing but bodybuilders, guitars, and dogs.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I'm gonna say what mine is. But...
Colton, I'll take you to the petting zoo here. We got,
I saw that. I wanted to try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we all got all kinds of weird animals. It's Thailand has no rules. So yeah.
I'm a little bit worried about the food. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm super self-conscious about my gut and like keeping the health.
Don't eat Thai food.
Yeah.
Don't eat the Thai food. Just eat at restaurants. I'll send you a couple of links where you can eat good quality food. And I mostly stick with the closed kitchens. I never touch street food.
I'm so confused. I thought Thai food. Okay, let me get this straight. So in Thailand, you can't eat the Thai food.
No.
You just eat the Thai food in America.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because it's unsanitary.
Okay.
I would totally live dangerously. I would roll the dice.
So in the hospital, it's about 50% ladyboys that are actually nurses, but you can't tell because they have the mask on. So you got to be careful, dude.
You got to be really careful.
A lot
Colton, are you bringing your girlfriend or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he's going to have to.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to let him go to Thailand by himself. What kind of fucking moron would let their boyfriend go to Thailand by himself?
That ruins the fun of Thailand, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's half the fun. You need to be at least single for 10 years.
Things to do in
It'd be like if your girlfriend was ovulating for a whole month. She's like, I'm going to Vegas for the month. You're like, no, you're not.
No, you're not. Especially not in the strip. Too many
not without me. It's like,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, so no Thai food. No, I only eat Western food here, man. It's I've been through the ringer so many times with food poisoning. I just don't want to take a chance.
Do they have Western Thai food? Like, is there like
in the Western world? Yeah. So if you eat Thai food in America or Holland or whatever, it tastes like ass.
But in Thailand, do they have like Thai people who are like, we're gonna cook for American tourists and we're gonna be sanitary?
Yeah, so you have some high-end Thai restaurants that are in the tourist areas, and special dishes are mostly for foreigners. Right? So it's the sweet and sour, and the one with the cashew nuts, and the tom kha kai, which is like a soup with a coconut and chicken, and it all tastes very bland and easygoing. And then the Thais, they eat, to the point their assholes on fire.
So they're not immune to it. They basically experience the same thing. They just don't.
Yeah, there's spiciness, but they don't get the food poisoning that we get. I mean, that's why they're also small, because they barely absorb the food.
So I like Pad CU, which is number 2.
Yeah.
It's N2 on pretty much every single Thai restaurant dish.
It's good stuff. How anabolic is Pad Thai? You should go with the Pad CU. Yeah.
Pad Thai's N1, and then Pad CU's N2.
Yeah. That's good stuff. You have to sprinkle in the dried chilies, otherwise you're not truly Thai. Dried chilies and fish sauce to the point your girlfriend or wife doesn't even want to give you a kiss.
I remember seeing a picture one time of a receipt from a Thai restaurant. I guess you can imagine how the customer was to the waiter, but on the receipt, the message to the chef was, make him wish he had never been born. And they had like, they put like a pepper every time, like for how spices, like 18 peppers in a row. Just like,
make him wish he was never.
You just
born.
imagine it's like some dude's like, yeah, I had Thai food before. I didn't think it was that spicy.
I made that mistake one time. There's a legit Thai restaurant near where we work, and I told the guy that the food wasn't hot enough, and he's like, all right. He's like, I'll make it Thai spicy. I'll make it Thai spicy for you, man. Oh my god, I made it through it. That's and I wonder why I have gut issues now at my age. Colin and
all the Thais have gut issues also because they eat spicy for their entire life, and then later on in life they get all these inflammatory conditions in their intestinal tract. Yeah, it's not good for you, man.
I was wondering about that. It's like, how does the people in India and Asia handle their own food when we can't?
They don't.
The answer is they don't handle it.
They don't have to. After 50 years old, most of the elderly Thais, they barely eat spicy, unless they live in the countryside. But those people don't really get old. Because they have a tough life. They work on the rice fields and stuff, So, no, it's quite sad, but, I like to stick with my Western food with a lot of protein and healthy fats and a little bit of carbs. And
so, do you have a study to support this, or are you just speaking for yourself?
No, just mostly from experience. Yeah. I was in the field.
Personal experience isn't valid.
Yeah,
at all.
It doesn't valid. It's not like I've been to every Asian country. It's not like I've been everywhere. Yeah. So I just I went to a Thai restaurant once, and then I formulated my own opinion of an N1.
Kind of like you did one bikini show, and now you're a bikini coach.
Yeah. Didn't even win.
Didn't even win. I'm sure you're nationally qualified because you got 5th.
That qualifies you to be world class, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're top 50 bikini competitor in the over 55 division. Then that
you're
makes you
4th.
That's world class.
Yeah. World class. Yeah, in Singapore, world class. 4th place in Singapore.
Something we're saying. A lot of people probably don't know that on Pro Muscle 2 years ago, Victor was not saying that he was a world-class bodybuilder. He just said he was an average bodybuilder. I'm curious what shows he did between 2 years ago and now, which is none. He said his last show was before COVID. So 2 years ago, he was saying he was just like an average bodybuilder. Now he's saying he's a world-class bodybuilder. What?
Kool-Aid.
What's the deal there? Lots of Kool-Aid.
Bold statement.
No comment.
If you say it, it's true, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, Oh, I can't say this.
Something worth asking.
Be careful, Todd.
Victor, at what point did he become a world-class bodybuilder?
There's so many things you can speak into it. I identify as a world-class bodybuilder. So
there you go.
I am.
Yeah, me too.
I
Me too.
speak
Don't look at me.
therefore I
though.
am.
Shit,
Just
that's
listen
what
to
he's
me.
doing. We're in this
Yep.
day and age where you can just.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
You can
it.
just
Wow.
incantation is evidence-based medicine, apparently.
The other thing, and since I brought it all back up, is where. So he's claiming he has 1,400 members on his channel. Where were they in my comment section on that video? Where were they?
Valid point. Very valid point.
There's like 2 people in there that are for him versus the 460 that aren't. You would think that they would come to his rescue if they gave a shit. Like they watched it. They all watch it. Like he posted it on his Instagram where all of them are paying attention.
All
Like
the bots.
where are they?
All the bots.
Why didn't they show? Why didn't they show up? Right. Well, that's the other thing. Victor said he did get hacked, and they gave him 30,000 followers or something. But
Wait. Hold on.
That's what he said. He said it.
Got
It's true.
hacked,
Right?
and
He
they
said he got
gave him
hacked and
30,000
he
followers?
gained
Instagram
all
just gives you
these
followers,
40,000 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, oh, someone broke into my Swiss account
Just
and
gave you a bunch of
deposited
money.
$2 million.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
actually have that person
Can somebody hack me? I'll give you my password.
That
I need
was
another
posted
30,000.
on his Instagram once that he said he got hacked and he doesn't know why his subscriber or his follower count is flying up by the thousands every day.
Facts.
But it's
Facts.
deleted. You can't find it and screenshot it and be like, what's
I
this?
remember it jumped. He was behind me, and then he was at 40,000, and I was
Yeah.
like, how the fuck did that happen? Yeah.
But he still only gets 3 to 4 comments per post. So
That's the other thing. Like you guys,
I'm averaging 100 plus per post.
you've got right.
Yeah,
like
right.
his followers. Do they not see that? Like he gets 2 to 3 comments per post. He's got 40. It claims 40,000 followers. 1,400 members, and he gets 2 to like. Where are they? Why aren't they standing up for him?
It's a valid question. Where are they?
If you're going to take screenshots of what your friends say and take them out of context and make a new post, and then you try to humiliate them, I could see why people wouldn't want to make comments, even if there are 40,000 scared people who are just hiding, watching from the shadows and not participating.
Mm-hmm. And then another thing
know.
that I thought about.
People
after
love
the podcast,
controversy.
The other thing I thought about was the 1,400 that he's claiming. We know he does lifetime memberships. How many of those 1,400 signed up 2 years ago when his lifetime membership was super cheap?
right.
Like if that's a real number, like it's counting those as well. Like they're still lifetime members. That doesn't mean that they're going to his website. I mean, they're definitely not going to his website because he only gets 2,000 hits a month.
So I've been in Thailand for 15 years, right? And to this day, I've never met anybody who said that they followed Mr. Victor Black's models or even knew about the guy. And I really have no idea what the hell he's doing. Because even at the bodybuilding shows, he doesn't show his face. If you love bodybuilding, you would have clients, right? And show up and have a good time. But he hasn't been seen for years. So just hot smoke to me, hot air.
I love going to
Something
shows.
about.
I'm going
Yeah,
to,
me too. I
Yeah,
go
it's fun.
I'm
I
going
go
to show
all
next
of
week.
Yeah.
Unless you're the coach, and then you gotta get fucked. But so when you're there till like 1 a.m., that's the big thing. But
Yes, but that's part of the sport. That's why we love
yeah.
it, right? I mean,
It's
I go to
so-
all the shows the whole weekend. Yeah, it's fun.
It's so weird going to shows now when people recognize me, man. It's the weirdest shit
You'll
ever.
get used to wait until you go to the Mr. Olympia.
It was crazy. Colin was with me at the New York Pro. It was wild up there.
Cool.
Like literally, Big Ramy was standing right behind me, and people were asking to take pictures with me. I was like, "Wait a minute, that's Ramy standing back there, man." I'm just,
Yeah, but you would do more for these guys than Rami does
I'm
because
just-
you make content that people can use.
I'm just big
Yeah.
dumb Paul.
Oh. Well, wait until you go to the Olympia. I mean, last year was eye-opening for me, so I'm happy that me and Chase are going. Luke, Colton,
Yeah, I'm
you're going
fine.
to come, right? Yeah. And then what did you guys, Paul? Todd?
assuming I do this show, I'm not going to be there because it's the week before my show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to Swiss, though, right?
Yeah, I'll be at Swiss. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be at Swiss as well.
Oh, the Olympia. I'm supposed to go to the Olympia. I don't know if I'll end up going, but I'm supposed to go.
You're coming to Swiss with us, right, Todd?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's in
I'll be at
Ohio.
Swiss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Planes make things more complicated. Cars are easy.
Yeah, I'm going to drive to Ohio. It's 8 hours, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'll fly in. And then I'll stay at
I got my
Swiss. I'll have a podcast with our good friend Dave Tate on Monday. So that's cool.
Awesome. You'll enjoy Dave.
Yeah.
Dave's great.
Yeah.
He's got some great stories.
Yeah.
And that gym is really cool.
Steve,
Yeah,
what do
so
you do
it's
for the flights? I can't believe how long the flights are from Thailand to the U.S.
Fasting and something. take the edge off.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Something to take the edge off. Yeah. So no food, and then I'll just walk around the plane in the airports, and it's like 2 flights. I might go to Canada first, visit some friends there, and then fly into. I have like 7 flights on this USA trip.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, but I mean, I live on the other part of the planet, dude. So I got to do my tour of duty and meet all the cool people in the U.S.
It's so.
I wish I could travel like that. I got kids. I can't.
Yeah, my wife might be pregnant by the time, so it might be the last time we do it.
Yeah, get it in before you have kids, man.
Yeah. Me and Chase are going to be front row, VIP silver. All right.
It's going to be cool.
We're doing lat spread so nobody else can watch the show.
It's going to be cool.
Hey, guys, I got to go. I got a Vigorous Q&A
Right,
like
Steve.
3 minutes.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Steve.
It was great to
man.
talk to you guys. And
See you,
keep in
man.
mind, guys, everybody's mad positive here, and that's what I like about the fitness industry.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
You dude.
Take it easy,
Peace out,
Steve.
guys.
Yeah, man.
Later.
Take care.
Later.
Good guy.
Yeah, Steve's great. I mean, that's my. Steve hit on the point here. Then this will be the last I probably say publicly about the whole Victor thing. I like working with positive people. I like working with people that. I mean, Colin, you and I worked together for what 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And in business relationships, I have what I call. I mean, it's not my idea. There was a book. It's called The No Asshole Rule. It was written by a Stanford professor, and it's widely used in Silicon Valley. I've heard Elon Musk talk about it. I've heard Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, talk about it. But you don't hire assholes. You don't collaborate with assholes. You don't do business with assholes. They just take up too much of your time.
Yeah.
They create too much negativity, and I have no desire to work with assholes. It's just that simple.
Yeah,
I don't-
you have to be really selective with who you give your time to, and it's like that's why I don't respond to Victor, because it's like, what is that going to give me? I'm going to be stressed out about making a video that's appropriate, and then whatever. Like I don't give.
Yeah, that's why I don't respond to anything he posts, because it's just not worth my time, and it just creates more negativity, and you can see how it spirals. It's just and it takes up time that I could be devoting to other people who
making money, helping other people,
other people, being a positive influence in other people's lives, helping my clients.
That's ultimately the lesson I'm learning from this little tiny bit of drama is just that, for somebody who seems to be so concerned with his contribution to the community or tribe, as he says, he seems to not give much thought as to what type of contribution he's making, whether it be positive or negative. You can be the fucking goose who lays the golden eggs, but if you're fucking trying to bite everybody who passes by, nobody wants to fucking deal with you, and that's unfortunately the case here. So sorry.
He takes with what he's doing and uses that as the measuring stick to base everyone else off of. And so it's like you have such a delusion that everyone else now becomes incredulous because you're measuring them off of your standard, instead of having some vulnerability and humility to say, maybe my standard is wrong, and maybe I should look at some of the things I'm doing, and it's like,
these are things that could be, examined and perhaps more positive fucking, methods of dealing with them can be developed in therapy. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, that's
therapy. I don't know, maybe like 30, 40 years ago would have been tight for this human being.
You know what? You know what my dad always told me growing up? He's like, when everybody else is wrong and you're the only one right, you need to take a long look in the mirror.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't understand that business model that he was like trying to tell me, you know, when we were talking. I was like, I mean, you want to be alone? Like, how is that gonna generate
really
more income than the other way? Like, I don't understand. Right, that's the other thing. Like, you piss everybody off. Now you can't go to bodybuilding shows. You're stuck in your house and you can't do anything.
It is a coping mechanism, saying that you want to be alone. Nobody wants
to be alone.
Nobody wants that fate, but he's rationalizing being there, you know, because and he has to rationalize being there because he can't look himself in the mirror and be like, maybe I'm contributing to my own, you know, situation in this way, you know. Maybe it's a negative feedback loop, you know, and I'm the source and the cause of.
Yeah, I mean, he's so money hungry and worried about money. Like, you think he would want to get on everybody's good side so that he can collaborate with everybody and people will like him more and want to hear him out more. But it's just, you know, again, like, just go look at the comments section on that video and it's a fucking train wreck.
I'm sure part of him does want that. He just doesn't know how to achieve it. Again.
Well, that's another thing in business, Colin. You've worked with me for a long time in business. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I've had some successes. I've had my ass kicked a few times. But one thing I've always learned is that if you work hard, you put a good product out, and you treat people with decency and respect, you will make money.
Mm-hmm. Where'd Steve go?
Steve has his own Q&A. He's headed over. Steve's doing the marathon today.
If you're thinking
bro science Q&A.
Bro science Q&A.
Bro science Q&A.
All right, let's get another question here. I'm over
not a question, but a comment. I just want to, you know, make sure we pay attention to the various super chats we've received.
Thanks,
so
Jake.
far.
Thanks, Jake. Jake's one of my clients. He's prepping for a photo shoot this week.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Doesn't have a question. Just wanted to.
Just excited for the podcast, man. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Jake.
We got a question here. I wanted to make sure I waited until Todd returned. Brandon wants to know if anyone has any death metal recommendations for the gym after a gnarly breakup. He usually goes with Lorna Shore after the burial and Brand of Sacrifice.
All right, so he's got some deathcore there after the burials, standard metalcore. It's actually not standard, but it's progressive metalcore. You're gonna like a Legion. That's a progressive, technical deathcore. You'll if you like a Legion. Go with Equipoise. I know it sounds funny that there's a death metal band called Equipoise, but it's progressive Indian technical deathcore. So that's a good one. Obviously, you can't go wrong with Misery Index, the Old Faithful, or Dying Fetus.
Dying Fetus, my go-to.
Yeah, Viscera is another band you might like. Viscera is great. And then if you want to go with some extremely heavy deathcore, Awaken Providence was Will Ramos's band prior to Lorna Shore. I think he was in a band in between, but Awaken Providence is extremely heavy. So is To the Grave. And if you want to go with some old school thrash that's really fast and upbeat, that I think is a little bit better tempo for lifting weights, Overkill. Like Overkill comes out with a new album pretty much every year. They've got like 30 something albums, and I don't know anyone who actually knows they exist. So that Overkill is a lot of fun. If you like older stuff, even than that, if Primal Fear is kind of like a clone band of Judas Priest, but like Painkiller Judas Priest, not like Breaking the Law Judas Priest. That's the gist of that. And if you want something positive and uplifting, then Unleash the Archers is a female vocalist based power metal band. So it's kind of like Dragon Force with a girl singer.
Todd, you were way deeper into it than me. I do love my metal though.
I would say I'm twice as interested in metal as I am in bodybuilding. I probably know more about metal bands and metal lore, metal history, the technical equipment that they're using, and the physics behind it than I know about the bodybuilding stuff, the gear, and the
metal is a deep rabbit hole. That is for sure. I just like Dying Fetus and Lamb of God because they're both local. on
Right.
local bands.
Well, and Misery Index is local to you too.
Oh
I think, right?
yeah. Yep, you're right.
Because in 2000, the whole band left Dying Fetus because they couldn't make any money because the name of the band was Dying Fetus. So they went and formed Misery Index. And then John was left holding the bag and he had to find a new band. And I think that the current incarnation of Dying Fetus is better without the members from Misery Index. However, Misery Index is better without John. It's almost like
Yeah, they're both
the
great.
two bands are better separate than they were when they were one band in the late 90s.
All right, let's grab another one. Spreading some positive vibes in the world with our metal recommendations.
Well, I ended with positive ones. Unleash the Archer is really positive. All right, discuss generic versus Pharma HGH. Personal.
We already did that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Well,
we did the
it's-
similar one. Personal
No,
I
experiences.
didn't see it. You
So
said
the
it. My
the
bad.
big difference is the Pharma put in mannitol or other diuretics, so you'll get lean, you'll get drier, and people think you're getting leaner, so they think the Pharma is better. Whereas the Chinese allows you to get bloated. So what'll happen is the Chinese stuff, you might, if you use a minimal amount, like 4 units, you might have more cushion for the pushing. But if you use like 6, 7, 8 units, you might have carpal tunnel syndrome. Likewise, with use 2 or 3 units of Pharma, you might be shredded and dry and look good. But if you start using more than that, you might tear something. So I think what Paul does is you split the difference, right? You use a little bit of Chinese and a little bit of US and you balance it out.
Yeah, I do half and half.
Yeah, I'm on the Meditropes right now, and the carpal tunnel, I've had to stop, like the 10 I use a day, because the carpal tunnel, I can't pick up a fucking bowling ball anymore. Like, it's so bad. So it's just not worth it to me. And I'll get into a machine like a pendulum squat, and my knees hurt. My knees never hurt. But it's not like a soreness, like I've trained wrong or anything. It's just like a achy sort of background pain, and I fucking hate that. So yeah, I'm out the race.
Because I'm at 8 units of Metatrope right now, and I've got nothing. So I was.
It's been a while, to be fair. I've been on since Chase mentioned the Serostim experiment. That's when I bumped up to 10 I use a day of the Metatropes.
Right.
So it's been a while. This past week is when it really hit me.
So I guess the next step is not to pull back on the Metatropes, but to add in some Humatrope or whatever ones that have the mannitol in it.
Yeah.
I've been
or
doing,
to take some HCTZ.
Yeah, you could do that. I've been doing 5 units of Metatropes and 4.5 of Serostim is what I've been doing, and I've split it up into 3 doses. It's the way I have it broken down right now. And then I haven't noticed any carpal tunnel or issues with it so far. Like in the past, like I would, like, once I got past 6 units, I couldn't feel my hands. Now I get tired as fuck. Jesus Christ, man, I've been so tired.
Yeah.
That part's been awful.
So one thing I did change when this started to happen was I started doing it 4 times a day as opposed to just 2 times. So I don't know if I don't know. You know, it's one factor that could be playing a role.
So you're supposed to get more local IGF-1 if you split it up into 4 times versus 2 times, but your systemic IGF-1 shouldn't be different. So there should be no downside to splitting it up. There should only be benefits. So when are you doing it? First thing when you wake up, pre-training, post-training, and before bed?
Exactly. Yep.
I would probably drop the pre-training one and do 2 when you wake up, 2 or whatever it is, a fraction when you wake up, a fraction post-training, wait 4 or 5 hours, and then do the rest of it before bed and see if that fixes it.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
How did you formulate that decision?
Me? It was based off of. All right, so
Panda study.
So each time seems to have their own unique value. So fasted is supposed to help with fat loss, right? More so than the other times a day. Post training, you're more receptive to the GH converting to IGF-1, and you're releasing more IGF-1 binding protein 3. And at bedtime is when you have the best conversion to IGF-1 and release of IGF-1 binding protein 3. So you're supposed to leverage the bedtime one as your primary, your post-training as your secondary, and your fasted in the morning as your tertiary if your primary goal is growth. and that the quaternary one of pre-training it doesn't have any special features, and I suspect that before bed doubling up will be more effective than the benefit you get from using the 2 units before bed extra is more than using 2 units pre-training. I also found that taking my GH pre-training makes me less energetic in the gym. And so if he's getting issues with knee swelling when he's trying to do the pendulum squat, then it could be that he's got that IGF-1 is being released and created while he's physically training, and that's impeding his progress. And he didn't have it before he was taking that dose, since I assume that his 2 times a day was first thing in the morning and before bed. And then he's broke it up and moved it towards the middle of his day. And so now he's seeing a negative impact on his training. There was another reason. Also, in Alex Kikel's book, what he said was, ideally, you take all your gear before bed if you're trying to grow. And if you want to take advantage of some of the connective tissue benefits of GH, you can move 1/4 or 1/3 of that dose to 1 hour post-training. So in the case of 10 units before bed, or 2.5 units 1 hour post-training, and 7.5 units before bed. So I basically mixed and matched the protocol between the J3U and the Kikel's book on growth hormone. And then I also filtered it through the lens of my personal experience, which, in other words, I used bro science, and all bro science. And there were no panda studies, rat studies, or orangutan studies to support any of this.
And that's why this is the world's leading
bro science.
Bro science live stream.
So
I got one more thing. Is a standard use ARB that every fucking doctor prescribes to a patient who has type 1, type 2 hypertension. Like, it is pretty much standard across the board. How has it now become an issue to where if you're using Telmisartan as a bodybuilder, you've copied the black models? Like, it's a fucking standardized pharmaceutical agent.
I thought Losartan was the standard one. And the Telmisartan's the 4th line one that's more expensive. Right. It's $300 a month as opposed to like $10 a month.
The VA, which is the cheapest fucking agency in the world, prescribed me Telmisartan because I just asked. I didn't even have hypertension. So it's like it is standard protocol at this point in time to use Telmisartan for the majority of people. And it just blows my mind that if a bodybuilder thought to himself, my blood pressure is high, what could I take? Telmisartan sounds good, I'm going to do that. That is now copying the Victor Black models. Like, you've patented the ARB because it's what you thought was best. Like,
I almost brought on my prescription bottle. I don't know why I keep old prescription bottles, but you know how long I've been on an ARB?
Probably a decade.
15 years.
Wow.
So everything all the Victor stuff is basically Justin Harris had said it too. He just said it behind a $200 paywall on Muscle Mentor.
Yeah, and you know who, and I assume Justin got it from. You know who told me to get on
Dante?
Dante.
Yeah.
Well, of course. Yeah.
Dante.
Which is the person that Victor hates the most is Dante.
In like 2005. And you know who also told me I should be monitoring my lipids and taking care of my lipids like 20 years ago? Dante. Yeah. The guy he trashes.
Yeah. He was the first person that talked about troponin T, and he was the first person to talk about, getting your analysis in comparison to just lab. It's just like, you can't claim everything is yours, dude. It's just so radical.
Back to the HGH thing, Todd, did Alex book or any other thing that you've seen talk about the amount of growth hormone that you take at once and how long it is in your system? And how long like your HGH serum levels are elevated or whatever?
So Alex's book put a limit at about 10 units of GH as effective dose. J3U says 2 units at one time is the maximum effective dose. So you have to split it up. Although I looked at the 2005 Frost study that he got that data from, and it didn't exactly confirm it. It seemed to be an inference that to elicit the maximum. Are you guys frozen? Is that no? Okay. So to elicit the maximum response was 7.5 nanomolar GH, and that to get that response, a different study showed that if you took 2 units in the morning, you get 7.5 nanomolar, and if you take 2 units at night, you get 13 nanomolar of GH. So you actually have a higher bioavailability, not even counting the IGF-1 conversion. So it seemed that based off that data, the 2 units from that data, that the concept that you get the minimum threshold of the IGF-1 conversion is how I interpreted it. I might have misunderstood it, was the 7.5. So it's not so much that it's the maximum amount of what I gathered from that reading was it's not the maximum amount, the 2 units. It's that a sufficient amount was 2 units to get your localized, and that the J3U model says you pretty much cap out at about 8 units a day, but 4 shots of 2 units. Now, as far as how long does it last in your system, I've concluded that the half-life is about 4 hours to 5 hours for GH, so that if you were using 18 units at bedtime, then you're basically going to be about 2 units post-training. And then by the time you're at bedtime again, you take another 18 units. So you're pretty much covered almost the full 24 hours when you do 18 units at bedtime.
So that's what I saw a graph that went over this years ago, and it was showing the different amounts that you take at once and then how long in the day your like serum levels are elevated. And the 18 IU dose, it was basically 24 hours that you were elevated, in that it's like you're basically, you would think that would be equivalent to like taking a shot every hour of, 1 or 2 IUs basically.
Yeah, and it just isn't the same. Instead, you're getting the lion's share of the area under the curve when you actually can utilize it best, which is when you're sleeping. And that it's lower when you're awake.
It's a huge spike, but then it just like comes down. Yeah.
And so what I found was the best way to do it, which would be to use a little bit post-training and then the lion's share of it before bed. Then you don't have that window of time where you have very low GH levels, which is post-training when you actually could utilize it. And it would also reduce the amount of GH in your system pre-training and during the training when you're basically feel like you're too tired to go to the gym or too tired to lift. And that's why I liked Alex's approach of doing a quarter of your load an hour post-training, wait 4 or 5 hours, use the other 75% of your load before bed. And then when you wake up in the morning, the dose is still so high, it's as if you just shot 2 units anyway. Yeah. And that you still are going to be, it's just that model requires you to be using 12 to 18 units of GH, right, which doesn't fit within the paradigm that's modern, which is that anything over 10 units is wasted. Yeah. However, you're living proof that that's not true in your sample size of 1 experiment.
Yeah, that's something that that's a question that a lot of people ask me is like, why do you do it all before bedtime? And it's like, well, if I do it all before bedtime, yeah, I get a huge spike in the middle of the night, but then it would be similar to taking a fasted shot of 5 IUs, because I'm still going to be elevated through that fasting window and getting, all the benefits of that. But I actually made a video on this about 2 years ago where I have that graph in there. I tried finding the study on it recently, but I have that graph in there showing like all the different like links and stuff of it.
Did your graph have the legends cut off so that no one can actually disagree with what the
I don't think so. I haven't looked at the video in a while, but I don't think so.
I want to make sure you cut off the legend off of every graph, and so that people have to believe you that the graph says what you says it says.
Also, then that's you're citing your sources properly too if you do that.
And the title of that video is the most advanced HGH protocol that you shouldn't do.
Oh,
you should,
because you're such an influencer to tomorrow's youth. Alex Eubank is gonna just OD with needles in his arm because of your videos.
Yeah,
but you're gonna rob us of the next Ziz because of your video.
No.
That it's reverse psychology. You tell them they shouldn't. I used to do that too. I was like, women, do not read this. And then because I knew that they don't normally read my stuff, but if I put women are not allowed to read this, they'll read it, and it would be actually be helpful for women specifically. Is the only way I could get them to read it is tell them not to.
I did want to get this one in. Sorry to grab this column, but KSF wants to know how much does Chase eat on 4 grams of gear?
It's 5 grams.
5 grams of gear. Let's
Get it right. Get it right.
My God.
He's trying to kill Alex Eubank here.
Short
Trying to
changing
kill
him.
Alex Eubank.
I figured this was a good segue into that one. You had a whole video up about it. I saw it. It was really good.
I keep it pretty simple in that on most training days, it runs about 400 protein, 600 carbs, and I don't add any fat. So like, it's just whatever fat comes with the meats that I'm doing. And it's usually like 2 pounds of red meat and then 2 pounds of like chicken breast or turkey breast. That's on like regular training days. On like a leg day or what would be a high carb day, I go up to 1,000 carbs and everything else stays the same. And then on like a rest day, I go down to 300 carbs and everything else stays the same. So
I'm going to let people in it.
Protein.
What's that?
You're at about 400 protein.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's 4 pounds of meat. So it's not exactly 400, but just for easy figuring, I cook 4 pounds of meat every morning. And then I spread that up into 6 meals and just add rice. And then, you know, there are like some things that I don't really bother counting. Like I'll have like a really small piece of fruit before most meals, or if I want vegetables, I'll throw some vegetables in there, but I don't really count that shit.
So what you're saying is that you eat meat and rice 6 times a day.
Lots of it, yes. Yep. Every
Like
day.
your video, Paul.
Everybody wants to know the secret, man. It's
Every
meat
day,
and
yeah.
rice
For
6 times a day.
$1.80 for Paul to do it. It's probably $2.80 for Chase to do it. Got to save the money for the GH. But
I get so upset when people say they can't afford to eat like a bodybuilder. I had to make the video and break the math out for people.
Your tone was so contemptuous too.
I get like clients. I get clients that reach out to me all the time, and I'm like, I can't afford it. And I'm like, literally, you can eat an entire day worth of food for less than 1 burrito bulk cost at Chipotle.
These stupid fucks go to Starbucks and then they complain that they don't have any money. It's like you're literally paying fucking $8 for water with a couple coffee beans ground into it.
Yeah. I mean, all of my carbs, like literally the bulk, it's rice. Like I'll take rice. I'll take, you know, I'll make my 4 pounds of meat, split that into 6 different containers. And, you know, depending on what day it is, they all get the same amount of rice. Like I don't really, like I could, if I wanted to make it more optimal, like put more rice and pre-workout and post-workout, but I don't really give a shit. I just making it even across the day and I go on with it. So
a lot of times I don't end up training when I think I'm going to train.
Well, that
so
too.
if you try to get hyper specific with it, you just fuck it all up, and it's worse than if you just left it alone and left it even.
There's
Plus,
that
stable
too.
blood glucose is always everyone's friend.
Yeah.
Because if you slam 200 carbs before you train, you're going to be probably pretty tired.
You're going to fall asleep.
Yeah. So
And
I mean,
another
my training
question
window does change a lot.
What is your you said like red meat, but that's vague as fuck. Like, could you narrow that down? Because a lot of people don't understand it. That doesn't mean ribeye.
Hey guys, I gotta bounce just really quick.
Oh.
But I love you
Later,
all.
Colton.
Yeah.
We love you too,
I love
buddy.
the glasses.
We love you, Coach
Thank you.
Colton.
I gotta
See,
go
this
to
is
my
the
bed.
positive environment that we create. We love each other.
a safe place.
It's a safe place. All right, bye.
So, what red meat do you use?
Yeah, so I pick.
Is it lamb?
I don't pick lamb. I pick bison, and then the other thing is I've been getting this. Oh God, what company makes it? It's a blend of beef hearts, and beef liver, made by I can't remember what company makes it. I imagine the Liver King probably owns it. I bet he does own it, but it's really good actually. It has like a slightly
That sounds
different taste,
awesome.
but it's good.
Yeah, I mean, my only issue with organ meat is like, you know, the texture, and you know, sometimes it has like a bit of like more of like a gamey flavor to it that can like be a bit much after a while, you know. But if you mix it with, you know, just some straight up beef meat,
yeah,
and I could see that being great and extra nutritious.
Yeah,
Make
so like
spaghetti sauce with it.
yeah. So I mix a pound of bison and a pound of that. Cook that all together. Cook the fat out, and then I don't necessarily like straight up strain it or like rinse the meat or anything, but I do leave the fat behind. Like I get like a spoon that has a bunch of holes in it, and I try to like get as much fat out of it and just scoop that into my bowls. So I don't know exactly what my fat count is, but I know I'm not adding any fats to it. And like considering all the fat is falling out, it's kind of not even worth trying to count it. But
and it's like we talked about, I hear Justin talk about it before. Like Colin, you worked in a butcher shop, man. You can tell the story about how you determine what's 80-20 and not.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly it's funny because the way in which that was determined was very much in keeping with the world's leading bro science live stream. It was it was very scientific. No, we would just look at it and be like, that's about 20. That's about 80-20 right there. Grab a handful of fat from the bucket. Grind that in. Okay, now that looks like 80-20 now. We could, like we eyeballed it based on how it looked.
Well, hold on. There's no studies to prove that actually is not 85-15.
Show me the footage.
So it means that because there's no studies to prove it's not 85-15, it has to be 85-15.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So bulletproof.
It identifies as 85-15.
It identifies as 85-15.
But yeah, so I don't know exactly how much fat that I'm getting in, but I don't bother counting things that I can't.
It's probably
accurately
less than 100
count.
grams, I would say.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's not a ton, but 15
a meal maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that sounds about right. I just eyeballing it. Yeah. All right, I got to wrap this up soon. I'm going to give Jamie a shout out here real quick. Jamie says, Paul, look forward to you coaching me in the future. You're the man, and I listen to you guys nonstop while I work and try to take as much knowledge as possible. Thank you for all your help. Appreciate that, Jamie.
Yeah,
any last parting words for our audience, gentlemen? I got to go pick up my kids.
Did anyone see the new Mission Impossible?
Not yet.
No, I have not.
I think I'm going to go today. I've been putting it off for a couple of days.
That sounds like fun, man.
There's a new theater out in the burbs of Illinois that apparently they have a screen that is the size of a basketball court.
Oh, shit. That is wild, man.
That's awesome.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like that doesn't even like make sense in my mind, but it's and their first film that they're going to show is the new Mission Impossible movie. I was
it's like IMAX 17. It's like IMAX on 18 units of GH.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. I read that and I had to read it again. I was like, a basketball court just flipped up? Like that's insane. It's pretty cool.
The theater I go to is just Imagine in Novi, and that was the only place where there's a Supermax, which is twice the size of an IMAX. Now this might be bigger.
It might be Supermax. It might be that company. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure it's the same.
I wouldn't be surprised if Imagine opened one in Illinois that has an even bigger Supermax.
Yeah, I think it said something like it's 90 foot by 70 foot or something crazy like that.
It's fucking enormous, and it's so loud. I bring earplugs for because it's like going to a concert just for it's so loud.
I went and saw Dune in IMAX when that came. I'm looking forward to the next one. It looks fucking awesome.
So I didn't like experience. I didn't like Timothy Chalamet until I saw him in Don't Look Up. And when
that was a good one.
That was a funny performance.
I was like, oh my God, this guy's an amazing actor. I never would have believed that he was the same person.
Yeah.
It like dawned on me halfway through, and he's playing Willy Wonka too. Yeah. So like now I get the Timothy Chalamet thing. I didn't get it before. Now I do.
Yeah. I'm doing mini golf today. My wife wants to do mini golf. It's indoors, which I'm about because it's fucking hot as balls out. It's goddamn like swamp outside right now in Virginia.
Yeah, here I found it, Chase. It's the Super EMX screen. It's 95 feet wide, 53 feet tall. It's the size of a professional basketball court.
It's at an Imagine Theater, right?
Is it?
I don't know. It says Illinois. It's talking about Illinois' largest screen size. It's the largest theater screen in the country. So there you go. That's pretty cool.
Well, I think they have the term Super EMAX. What do you call it? Trademarked for Imagine. Because normally it'd be an IMAX. It would be Super IMAX, not Super EMAX.
That's wild.
Yeah. So I'm going to. That's where I go to see a lot of my movies. Is the Super EMAX near my house.
I love loud movies. This is my parting thing. Is like my girlfriend hates every woman I've ever dated hates loud movies. It's too loud.
I that happened after I hit my 40s. Before I was in my 40s, I didn't care. But then once I got in my 40s, I started wearing earplugs to concerts and earplugs to.
I'm also probably halfway deaf from all the years of being in bands and shit.
Yeah.
That's right. People forget that you have a degree in music.
Yeah, I studied music in college.
That's your degree. You do cybersecurity.
I went back.
You do coaching, and then but you're actually degreed in music.
I studied music at a conservatory, and then I went back and got a degree in computer science.
Uncommon character. Took a few levels in Bard early on, and then.
No, but you would be a bard. You stand up comedy.
A barbarian. He's a barbarian.
Barbarian.
That would be bards would be stand-up comedians would be bards. I actually was thinking about actually making a character that was a pink dragon bard, because the pink dragons do stand-up comedy. They polymorph into humans, and then they do stand-up comedy, and then they blow bubbles that are like really slippery, so that people just slip and fall like it's Scooby-Doo. Pink dragons are like one of the coolest monsters of all time.
Pretty sure Bard is never one of the characters that I chose in any video game.
It's so, especially if you play a girl, because if you're a girl bard, you can just basically make charisma checks and talk people into doing anything. You don't ever have to attack anybody. Because all the guards are men. So if you slip past guards, you could just be a girl and just roll a charisma test and flirt with the guards and get pie.
Chase, do you play video games?
I mean, not so much anymore, but I mean, like with regards to like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, like I played all of the
Elder Scrolls,
all of the Forgotten Realms games.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay. That's real Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
The new Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out August 3rd. If you have a PC that can handle it, that's like probably the truest realization. I'm just gonna nerd out right here at the end of the podcast. Probably the truest realization of like tabletop pen and paper D&D in a computer RPG format, like that has ever been attempted or conceived of, attempted, and put out as a product in history. And it is something to behold, I gotta say. Like I think
we need to get Todd on there so we can all play together.
Yeah, you can actually play like online campaigns, and like there's dice rolls, and like it actually moves like
so if that's the case, Colin, all I want is for you to find me a computer, ideally a Mac. I guess you can't use a Mac for this.
No, you can. Well, you could.
Yeah,
you could run
my Mac
Windows on your Mac.
Well,
it wouldn't be ideal.
No,
it's
so
not.
My point is, like, basically, find me a computer that'll actually run this game, and I will buy the computer just to play the game. I did that with Bloodlines in 2004.
It's
built
based on 5th edition. It'd be tight if like you had options there, but technical limitation. Of course, they're going to make it the latest edition. They got the license from Hasbro to make the game.
Right.
But it's right on the money. They worked really, really hard on it. They did it in full view of the public. You could buy it like 2 or 3 years ago, early access.
So I have the beta on my MacBook Pro.
Yeah. So you played it a bit already. Okay.
It runs really well on it.
Yeah.
Okay, because I figured that what I want to do is upgrade to an iPhone and an iComputer so I can shoot video in the gym and then have it seamlessly put on the computer so I can edit it, and then I can make social media content with it. Because right now I've got a Google phone and a Windows computer, and it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know if crossplay is enabled, but you can at least experience the game. Just get a PS5, man. It's coming out on PS5. That way you don't have to worry about you can get your Mac and get your iPhone, and they can talk to each other for the purposes of doing your gym stuff. But then you can just play Baldur's Gate 3 on the PS5.
Yeah, I don't have a PS5 either.
It's pretty inexpensive. They've come down in price quite a bit.
Yeah, I have to buy a new TV for it because my TV is 2007.
300.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to wrap this up.
At all.
Yeah. So just get a nice refurbished one. Anyway, all right. We all got places to be. We got mini golf to do. All right,
guys.
Take it easy, guys.
Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Rock on.
Especially you, Victor.